Big welcome to Mr. Anthony Miller. How's it going tonight, Anthony?
I am doing good, Matt. Thanks for having me, man. Just looking at the photo. I'm pretty sure I took the photo of you when you were sitting on the stage for the XFL interview place. So that was wow. That brings back memories.
Yes, sir. Sir. Yeah, I posted that. I was gonna post it and just make a post about it for like just to get everyone riled up for the show, but I figured it was a good one just to post in general, just to have it around. I mean,
love it.
Brings back some memories. It seems like long ago. It was back in May, but man, it feels like last year if you look at it now.
I know. Time flies, man. That does feel like a long time ago, but that was a lot of fun.
Yes, sir, it is. We're welcoming Anthony Miller to the show tonight. Anthony's a reporter and writer. He has a lot of different things. I'm not even going to get into it. I'll let him tell everyone at home what he does. But, I mean, he's a very busy man. I got him on for his expertise in XFL, specifically the Arlington Renegades. He covers them exclusively. But yeah, he's a great guy, great content, man. You're always putting out some good stuff related to sports. And what's really drawn my attention recently is just seeing the stuff that you're doing that, you know, it doesn't have as big of a following, but just your post and the content you're putting out is making me follow these things that I didn't even know existed. So congrats, man. It's good work.
No, I appreciate it. I just love making content and love being able to cover all kinds of sports. You know, obviously football has always been my first love, but I love all sports. So I'm just enjoying the ride right now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, before we get started, I mean, you just want to tell like what all you do, who all you work for? I mean, we got a background portion. I always let people talk about their backgrounds, but just the people that aren't familiar with you, tell them what you do, man, if you don't mind.
Oh man, I mean, where do I start? So, obviously, I think everyone mostly knows me for XFL News Hub. Obviously, I cover the Arlington Renegades for them and write about other XFL articles for the site as well, but mostly on the Renegades. Other things I'm doing as well. I'm working for a network called NTC Network. It's based out of Atlanta. I'm kind of helping with, widening the view of the audience as we are now expanded out to Dallas. So I'm kind of heading up the project for Dallas. So right now I've been credentialed to cover for Dallas Wings, FC Dallas. A couple weeks ago I was at the Premier Lacrosse League. So, it's kind of a slow build right now, but we've been making a lot of content for all Dallas sports. So I'm kind of helping with that, as well as writing for a college football network, just covering all of college football, doing a series right now on covering some of the under the radar players around the country in each conference. So, and then as well, I'm with USFL News Hub covering the Houston Gamblers for that site as well. So just doing a lot of different contents, a lot of different writing for them.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I'm just checking out your Twitter. I have it where people can see it at home. I mean, if you're not following this guy or keeping up with him, please do, people. He's got some great content, seriously. Very informative, and I like how most of the things you do are all positive. You don't really hit many pieces that are negative or trying to draw drama in. So that's one of my favorite takes on your work.
Yeah, I think we see a lot of negative stuff on social media, so I try not to add that to my timeline as much as possible. Now, obviously, I may have the occasional angry stuff about the Philadelphia Eagles, but try to Try to stay away from it and try to keep positive things in my life.
Yeah, typical Eagles fan right there. Nothing you can do.
Yep.
It's you got to get it out. I mean, I understand. Speaking of NFL, man, that's been spending some time down in New Orleans, watching John Trey Kirkland, Jack Heflin, Kiko. They're the three guys from the XFL right now in New Orleans, and I got credentialed down there with them, and it's been a good time. It's quite different than the XFL, you can say.
Yeah, I'm so jealous of you. You got to see Kirk on it. That's really exciting to see him back on the field. Just as, especially after what he went through in the XFL, being basically he was the best receiver in the XFL for the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season, and to see him get injured the way he did and lose the half of the season was devastating. We weren't sure if that was going to affect him when it came down to NFL teams, but I'm so glad it didn't. I'm so glad he was able to find a home in New Orleans, and hopefully he can make a big impact on the team in the preseason. So really happy for Kirkland because that dude is an absolute stud.
Totally agree, 100%. And the way he's very humble. I sat with him when he was doing his press conference, and we talked afterwards. Very humble guy, super hungry. I hope the best for him. As long as he stays injury free, I'm sure there's going to be some times for him to shine on that New Orleans field. Can't speak too much of the specifics, but it looks good so far, man. He's wearing the number 85, and that number was out practicing and doing things. So I look forward to that. But yeah, since we're going to head and talking about the guys that are heading to the NFL, we're at 48 now total, I believe. Is that correct?
I believe so. I think that is accurate. Yeah, correct.
Now, I had a bunch of slides pulled up, but my computer decided to hit a software update right beforehand. But I really wanted to note, I don't have it pulled up. No, I had the there it is. There it is. I do have it pulled up. The XFL is really doing a good job keeping up with it. I know originally when we started this, it seemed like a lot of the information was coming from social media and places like that. But now it seems like they're starting to do a pretty good job. I mean, we're getting graphics released daily when someone gets signed.
Yeah, even for players that are getting tryouts, they're getting graphics themselves, which is awesome to see too.
Yeah, agreed. And any of these athletes, I mean, I know I've named a couple, and we don't want to get too much into it, but is there anybody you're excited personally to see perform this year?
PETA, I'm really excited about. I'm really glad he found a spot with the Jets. Obviously, he was one of the best pass rushers in the XFL, but especially for a team like Vegas that was very much one of the worst teams in the league. But there was a lot of individual players that the Vipers, that were really good, and PETA I think kind of stood out as the best one. I mean, especially I think it was the first 6 weeks where he had 6 or 7 sacks and he was just dominating off the line of scrimmage. So I think he's going to be huge for the New York Jets. I think it's going to be tough for him to kind of battle for a roster spot on that team. But I think what's an advantage for him is I think he can play defensive end and he can play outside linebacker. So he can play that hybrid linebacker position. So I think that's going to be huge for him as long as he can find the strength and speed to get off the line and get pressure on the quarterback. He may have a shot at even making the practice squad for the New York Jets, which I think would be massive because we all know Robert Sala's really built a really good defense with the Jets, especially with how much that offense struggled last year. So it's going to be a challenge, but I think if PETA can make that Jets team, I think that shows a lot about the talent he has. And I know he's really impressed a lot of people, especially during the XFL season.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I've been waiting on his name to fly off the shelf, much as I did Abram Smith. I know we had to delay that a little bit, but congrats, PETA. That's awesome, man. I'm happy for you. The New York Jets, they are going to make a Super Bowl run this year. I don't know how confident we're talking and how far they're going to make it, but you can see they've definitely stacked the pieces to prepare. So that'd be awesome for an XFL guy to make it to a team and make a run, even to the playoffs. That'd be great.
I know Mike Mitchell's going to be pushing, going to be pulling for him because I know he loves his Jets and he loves the XFL. So I know he's going to push for PETA to make the team too.
No doubt. If I remember correctly, he's who I saw post it first. The actual statement and the actual release.
Yeah, I think he's the one that reported it for Jets Press.
Yep. Yeah, man, I'm happy for these guys. Look forward to covering them in New Orleans. Before we get on to more of the show, I want to mention for the people at home, Sunday I have a session with Ken Preismeyer. We're going to switch that to Saturday at the same time, because I'll be at the preseason game. So I will not be here Sunday. So Saturday, same time, 7:30 p.m. Central, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. If not, it's recorded like normal, guys. But just want to share that. I'll have it flashing at the bottom. Sorry, Anthony, had to mention that.
It's all good. This is your show. I'm just here. I'm here for your pleasure, man. So
I understand, man. I like to show people respect, and when I get an expert on, I definitely want them to feel like they have their chance to say whatever they want to say. So far, it's worked well. Everyone that's been on, I've really got to know more about, and then got to see their expertise, whatever subject that may be. So appreciate you coming on again, Anthony. It's great. I've been waiting for this for probably like a month and a half. So great to have you on, brother.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. I'm excited to start digging into this. So let's do it.
All right. Let's roll into the IFL to XFL Combine that took place on August 4th, Friday. So far, there's still not much coming out of actual evaluation data or who we're looking at in terms of players. Just curious on your end if you've seen any kind of official documentation or anything to note the numbers for these guys, or who even actually participated in the Combine.
I don't have data. I know some of the teams for the IFL have posted who actually went to the Combine. The only team I know off the top of my head from the IFL was Quad City. I think released the list of players that went to the Combine that's from the team. But I don't know if there's any like hard data that shows like who actually went, unless you look at the photos and maybe you can point out some players from it. But it seems like it was a pretty good turnout though.
Yeah. I've got the pictures on the screen right now. Everybody looked happy, active, rolling. That's basically what we did. Avion, one of our contributors, he basically just picked out names and started searching, and that's how he figured it out. But I was just curious if there was an underground list maybe running or something that was out.
Not that I have, not that I have, but it seems like there was. But I heard because Evan Wilsmore was there for it, and he said it was a really good turnout, and there was a lot of players from each team. I don't know what the estimate number was, but it was a really good turnout for it.
From what I've been told from eyewitness accounts, it was around 200 people or at 200 people. Don't know factually if that's true or not, but still, that's a huge turnout. I really didn't expect that many guys to come out because, I mean, I considering how many teams are in the IFL, do you know? I don't even know.
Like 14 to 16, I think.
So that's a pretty good amount of players for that many teams still.
Yeah, I mean 200 sounds about right. I mean that's a good amount, and I'm sure the IFL has probably tried to get all the players out as many players out as possible, because I know there's been a massive push from the Commissioner Tyson to try to get players looks with the NFL and with the XFL and trying to get their foot in the door in the XFL. So I know that partnership is really big for both leagues. So I'm glad that, if it is around 200, that's a really good turnout.
Yes, sir. Agreed. Now, I mean, looking at the pictures and stuff, I mean, everything looks good, but in terms of actual skill that the XFL needed, is there any body or positions that you're really watching just to see if we're going to get those filled?
Yeah, so I remember prior to last season, around December and January, when they have those inside the football meetings that they have and stuff like that, and when they talk to Doug Whaley and those guys with the front office with the XFL, I know the number one position that they've always talked about that they could always use is offensive lineman. Unfortunately, I think that's kind of hard to find with the IFL just because there's less players. You don't have as many on the line. So it may be harder to try to find those guys. But I know that's always been a big push for the XFL. And I'm sure it's the same for USFL and all these other alternative football leagues where there's a large need for offensive linemen and skilled offensive linemen. So I don't know if they're necessarily going to find it in the IFL. So if there was a position to look at to pull from the IFL, I think it's probably wide receivers. There's been a good amount of wide receivers getting tryouts in the NFL, been getting signed from the XFL to the NFL. So I'm sure the XFL is looking for those guys because I think one big thing that I really see out of those receivers in the IFL is a lot of them have speed. A lot of them are quick and they're fast off the line, and they can make big plays for touchdowns. So I'm sure the XFL is looking for those home run hitters from the wide receiver position to help him out. I'm sure they're going to be looking at quarterbacks as well. I think the quarterbacks in the IFL are very strong. I think some of them are really good candidates to be in the XFL. So I'd probably say wide receivers and quarterbacks are usually the big ones to look at when you're looking at these combines.
Yes, sir. Agreed. Now, there's a few defensive guys also that I'd say they could look at. But, I mean, as it stands right now, I feel like defensively, the XFL really has skill there. And you can look across the board, and there is some places where it's not. But for the most part, you see athletes in that defensive backfield especially, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would say running backs too would be a good position. I know the XFL, I mean, last season there was Abram Smith, but I really felt like outside of Abram Smith, there was good running backs, but there was no one that really stood out. And even with Abram Smith, like half the games he had in the season were 50 yards or less running days. So I think running backs can always be a good one. And I know there's a couple in the IFL, even though I know it's more of a passing league. That could be a position of need in the XFL as well.
Yes, sir. Agreed 100%. I'm just showing these pictures on here. I really didn't go through all these personally. So just looking.
Yeah.
Do you feel like in terms of the XFL and the IFL, this is really making them partners? This is really showing what they're doing together on and off the field.
Yeah, I think this partnership with the IFL, I think is just as important for the XFL as it is as like the NFL Alumni Academy. Like they need to have these type of partnerships so that they have a player pool that they can pull from and get talent from. And I think the IFL is probably as much as the NFL Alumni Academy is a good partnership, I think the IFL is probably maybe more important just because these players are actually playing. Like they're playing multiple months at a time, and they're playing a whole season of football. So, I think there's some transition between indoor football to outdoor football with how the rules are different, how the formations are set up. A lot of it is you're looking for a different type of player. But just getting that playing time, getting those reps, I think is really important. So the pull players from the IFL to the XFL, I think, is just as important of a relationship for the XFL to have.
Agreed. Yeah, I mean, these guys are ready to rock. They just finished their season. Most are ready and willing at that. I mean, everybody I've talked to 4 different athletes that attended, and they were all on it. They were ready for it, very excited. So looking for good things there. I'm hoping some of these guys make it to teams next year so we can root for them.
Yeah, I think there was a few guys last year that got tryouts from the IFL to the XFL for training camp. So I'm sure it's going to be more of the same this year, where I think as this partnership grows, I think more and more players from the IFL will go to the XFL. And honestly, it's an important relationship with the IFL too, just because, especially with the Arena Football League coming next year, this is a good recruiting piece for the IFL to be like, hey, we have a partnership with the XFL. You do well here, you can get a chance to, try out and, play in the XFL. You may not get that with the Arena Football League. So it's a mutual, important partnership between the two leagues.
Yes, sir. Now I got some comments from home. Let me look through them real quick. Jersey, I see you making your comment. Some of those questions I'm going to ask him later towards the end of the interview, so I will ask Jersey. Here's one from Jersey. Can you see that, Anthony?
Let's see. The Jets will not make the playoffs. Watch what I tell you. Yeah. Man, I don't know if I would go. I mean, the Jets are going to be better. I mean, they have to be better than last year offensively. But they were very close to being a playoff team last year. So, I mean, the only way they would make the big drop is if Aaron Rodgers got hurt. But that's a bold statement. I mean, I'm not a Jets fan, so I have no dog in the fight. But
I understand. I just had to pop that one up. Appreciate you watching, Jersey, man. You know I got you, and I'll ask questions. But yeah, I just had to pop that up. Jersey also wanted to ask, do you think the IFL to XFL draft will be streamed next year? I mean, we can hope. We saw how successful the Combine stream was. That riled up. I don't know how many people have actually watched that post date, but I know current when it was going on, it was pretty popular. So what do you think?
I got to watch a little bit of the Combine coverage, and I mean, obviously there were some wonky things with it, but I think it's a very unique stream to compare to what other leagues are. I mean, I've never seen an alternative football league do something like this. I mean, the only other league where I see covering combine, at least football wise, is the NFL when the NFL Network does the combine. So, I mean, I love the creativity from the XFL to do the stream, and they use people from ESPN to do the broadcast. So I thought the talent that was on it, I thought it was really solid. So I think it could be more of a recurring thing in the next few years. I'm sure they wanted to test it out with the XFL Combine, see how it did, and I think there's some things that they could fix, obviously, because it was their first time. But I think there's a lot of good that can come out of it, and hopefully they'll stream more stuff in the years to come. So I don't know if they'll necessarily do it with IFL to XFL, combines or drafts or anything like that, but could be something they work on for the future, especially if they try to push out, content for social media.
Agreed. Now, before we move on from this, are there any athletes that you're watching personally? I mean, anybody that's on your radar to watch for next year, whether they stay in the IFL or roll over to the XFL?
So, I mean, just because I cover the Frisco Fighters, a couple guys I think of. I mean, obviously TJ Edwards, the quarterback, he was the MVP this year. He's every year been one of the best quarterbacks in the IFL, and the reason I say him, he's got a quick release, he's got a good arm, and he's very mobile. And I've always believed this about all alternative football leagues is, we just talked about how offensive line is always really tough to find. So except for AJ McCarron, I feel like most teams could really use a mobile quarterback to kind of help, take the pressure off the offensive line, to have them move out of the pocket and do bootlegs and stuff like that. I think TJ Edwards would be a perfect fit for the XFL, and I really hope he gets a shot. Charles Heaton is a guy that I love. He's a wide receiver, kickoff returner for the Frisco Fighters. Last year had 6 kickoff returns for a touchdown. Guy has got great speed. He's a beast. I would definitely think, for him, he didn't get as much playing time when it came down to being a wide receiver, being a running back and stuff like that, but he can do so many versatile things that you can plug and play with him in an offense, and then, be able to, if he wants to make the team, special teams would be, what he's best at. And if he could prove himself as a returner, I think he could definitely make it. And then one other guy outside of Frisco, EJ Hilliard is another guy that I think is mobile, got a great arm, makes good decisions for Quad City. He's another quarterback that I feel like should get an absolute shot at the XFL. I think there's a lot of that. Again, I know I talked about this. The IFL has got great talent in quarterbacks, and I think a lot of them should get shots in the XFL.
Yeah, I was surprised that that there wasn't more publicity around these guys. The names you just said, those two alone are superstars amongst the IFL community. They've got a lot of skill, and they back it up in a lot of the games they play. You can see them leading their teams to victory, championships. I mean, all the way around. So, yeah, I agree with you. I hope to see more of them or hear more about them soon. They could have really attracted some of these IFL fans with those guys, just kind of centering a few publicity pieces around them, in my opinion.
Yeah, and that may be something they work on with the relationship between the XFL and IFL, doing like prior, player profiles and stuff like that to, get fans, especially XFL fans, get used to these guys, because these are guys that are probably going to be on the radar for a while when it comes down to, leagues like the XFL. So maybe something the IFL works on too is make sure to push out those player profiles and get their names out there.
Agreed. I liked how they put all these pictures up. They put some videos up. This is all content people want to see. So it's great that you did that. IFL, XFL. Good job.
Yep, absolutely.
But moving on, I mean, really just wanted to get your opinion. I mean, we've had a few updates regarding ticket sales. I know you saw the 8-1 drop. It was the ticket sales, or the season ticket sales / deposit. Mm-hmm. In terms of fan engagement for the current season within the XFL, I guess we're in the off season of season 2, technically. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. I mean, what do you think? How do you think we're doing in terms of fan engagement from the XFL? Do you feel like things could be improved? Do you think things are going in the right direction? Just kind of want to get your opinion and gauge it out.
Yeah, I mean, social media wise, I think they're doing a good job with content. Um, I think there's other things that they could do to, like we talked about, doing player profiles, coach profiles. I do think there's more creative ways that they can engage with fans and get fans to, know the players' names, and I know sometimes that's kind of hard because you don't know if these players are going to sign with NFL teams or not, but I think like especially like AJ McCarron, it seems apparent he's probably going to stay for another year. He's been showing up at some XFL workouts, so I think like pushing out that kind of content would be great. Um, Really, I would say the only team that I've seen done pretty well with actually doing stuff in the community is San Antonio. I think that I've seen a lot of Brahma's like fan engagement stuff, and it's nothing like crazy, like it's not like huge fan events, but I've actually seen them around San Antonio, and I've seen pictures on Facebook with them being engaged with the community. So I actually love what San Antonio is doing. They're the only ones I've really seen that's been big. In terms of the Renegades, I think they've done like some stuff. Like they had August 1st was called Arlington Renegades Day to celebrate them winning the championship. So that was kind of a cool thing. But I think social media wise, I think they've done a good job. Obviously, some things that I think they could do a little more creative to kind of push out unique content. But in terms of like physical fan engagement, I think they could do a lot more of, and I think they need to do a lot more of. Now, I don't know if they're just waiting to maybe closer to the season to do that, but I would try to do like fan engagements year round so that you could just be on the top of fans' minds like, hey, we are here, we have a football team, come check out the coaches and players and stuff like that.
Yes, sir. Do you, in terms of like, so I know you said locally, I don't know factually, but from my research gathered, a lot of those fundraisers and events are done by like it's Horns Forward podcast. They do a lot of stuff within the community, and that recently they just had a school drive, backpack drive.
Oh yeah, I saw
So
that.
they just did that. So, but yeah, that was also one of the fan groups from there. I think it was the XFL San Antonio Brahmas fans group. I'm not sure the exact name, guys. Sorry. But yeah, props to them. I'm not sure if they're working with the XFL per se on those events, but I mean, I would hope so. It would make more sense.
Yeah, I mean, if they're not, then kudos to them because I think we could use more fan bases that are like that, honestly, that are doing these type of events and pushing the team's name out and doing good for the community. So, if it is engaged with the XFL, great. If it's not, then kudos to them as well for doing that. 'Cause that's really important. That was something that I think they missed out last year on not being in the local markets and
Yep.
having the hub idea. Even though they played at home games, I do feel like they could have done more in their local communities.
Yes, sir. I agreed with you on that. And that's what we're looking for. Hopefully, I mean, that's really where we come in.
Yes, absolutely.
But yeah, man, I was just curious. I wanted to get your thoughts on it. The folks down in San Antonio are doing great work. So good work, guys. Especially just doing fundraising and events. That's awesome. You get to benefit fans as well as kids going back to school. Awesome, awesome. Love to see it. Let's keep it up. Seriously.
Yeah. Hopefully they'll have a better team so that they can, I know the attendance for the first game was great, and then it kind of just died out after that just because, that team wasn't strong. But hopefully they'll have a much stronger team coming next year.
Well, we didn't all win the championship, Anthony.
I mean, we were 4-6, so I don't really know if we want to go down that route.
You still won.
There's a lot of Battlehawk fans that are a little ticked off about that, so I don't know if we want to go down that route.
Yeah, I can't imagine if that game would have been in St. Louis. Lord have mercy. That would have been a show right there.
No kidding.
But anyway, man, like I said, I just wanted to gauge your opinion on stuff and see what you thought. Personally, I feel like it has improved since last year for sure. We have the XFL name is out there and it's being spoke of positively. There's not as much doubt. There's not as much negativity surrounding it. They're building and they're getting their brand in order. So in my opinion, they're doing better for sure.
Yeah, and I think the main reason, I think a big reason that people are starting to buy into it a little more is we survived the season. That's what really was. I think people were like, well, is it going to last a season? Oh my God, they lost $60 million. It's the end of the world and stuff like that. No, I mean, they're running combines. There's other leagues out there that we've seen this summer that have had combines that have magically, disappeared and stuff like that. Like, that's not happening with the XFL. They're backing up their word. They're putting their money where their mouth is, and they're having these events. They're streaming combines. They're posting about signings all the time and stuff like that. Like, they got through a season. They've proven that they're here to stay. How long? Who knows? But at least they've established that, yeah, we're here to stay for a while. So I think people are gonna hopefully buy into it, start watching it more, and embrace the fandom of it.
Yes, sir. Agreed. I mean, on my end, I think I'll understand when we start trending again, just from social media experience at this point. I'll be able to see it as soon as it hits. So I'm hoping, let's go November, December, everything starts trending, everything starts being seen. And regardless, we have news points and we have updates. I tell you, when the season ended in May, I was quite concerned about what am I going to do? What kind of show am I going to put up? What do I have to talk about compared to last year? So far, it's given me plenty of content to speak of. And then plus the guys moving on, I thought it's great that the NFL is allowing me to work in there and pursue those guys and keep up with them. So all the way around, it's opened up opportunities for people and players. So thanks, XFL.
Well, yeah, and I think the NFL understands how important that relationship with the XFL, because there's been a lot of people for multiple years that have said, hey, NFL, you need like a developmental league. And, they used to have that with NFL Europe, and they don't have that anymore. And people have been talking about, well, they need a developmental league. And everyone's like, well, they do. It's called college football. Like, that's their developmental league. And it doesn't properly prepare them for what professional football is going to be like. And that's why leagues, like the XFL and the USFL are so important, because you get professional coaches, like coaches that have been there, who knows what it takes to, build you into a professional football player, to really help you take those steps and then get, move on to the NFL. So I think the NFL understands that, hey, we don't have to spend money on a league, but we can still partner with leagues like the XFL and USFL. I mean, we saw Lions head coach Dan Campbell made a comment last week about the importance of the XFL and USFL. Like, these coaches understand, these leagues, they do help these players out quite a bit. So that's why there is full support for it. And heck, we're seeing the NFL look into the kickoff rules for the XFL now. Like, they understand that the XFL is doing a lot of benefit for them, and then the USFL is as well. Like, these alternative football leagues are a huge benefit to the NFL, and they're going to take advantage of that relationship and build on it.
Yes, sir. Agreed. I think it's just great. It makes me happy that everybody's getting along. That's all I can hope for.
Well, yeah, for now, for now,
that is correct.
During the XFL USFL season, not a lot of people are getting along, but it's the off season now, so everyone's calmed down a bit.
Hey, I know you personally as well. I'm not. I don't follow the USFL, but I don't hate on it in any way, shape, or form. I'm happy for all the guys and all the players, all the people that cover it. But I mean, personally, I just don't really keep up with it. Someday I hope to when they're local. So,
yeah, give me more football. That's all I want. More football, the better.
Yes, sir. Well, I guess we can move on from that. Appreciate that conversation. From us talking, I think we're similar the way we feel things are rolling right now, and judging from a lot of the content creators, writers, reporters, everybody has plenty to talk about, and that's good news. So, but let's talk about you, man. Let's get on you a little bit. Anthony, I tried to find out a little bit more about your background just through the Google search. Wasn't too successful. I didn't want to creep on your LinkedIn profile, so I tried to steer clear of it. But yeah, man, let's just hear about you as a professional, as a person. And I always started off, what's your background? Where'd you come from? Like, you can start from when you were young and coming up and then roll from there. I mean, however you feel like it's best. But I mean, what got you to this point in your life as a youth?
Man, that is a loaded question. All right, well, let's do this. So, graduated college 2016 from West Texas A&M University, which is west part of Texas in Canyon, Texas. I I started broadcasting. So originally I wanted to get into sports. I did a lot of sports broadcasting while I was in college. Started out in local TV news. So I was, behind the camera for a little bit for about 6 months, and then I got in front of the camera as a reporter, and I did that for 2.5 years. So I worked in Wichita Falls for about 9-10 months after college. Then I got a full-time reporter job in Sherman, Texas, at the CBS station. So I worked there for almost 2 years. So in total, my TV news career is 2.5 years.
Gotcha.
Realized that I did not enjoy covering homicides. I've seen more dead bodies than I would like to. I've covered more, murders and accidents than I hoped to dream. So kind of made a decision. I didn't want to do that anymore. The money wasn't great, to be honest with you. I really respect reporters and stuff and anchors that, go through the grind of it, because it takes 10, 15, 20 years to really get to where you want to go. So to all those people that are grinding it out there, I got to say major props. I couldn't do it, but for those of you that battle it out to the end, I respect you for it. So in short, I decided to make a career change, got into sales, wanted to, my wife and I were getting married at the time, so I wanted to help support her. Sales was not something I really wanted to do, but I ended up finding out that I was pretty good at it. I don't know how, but I was able to succeed at it. And so been in sales for the last 4 or 5 years. And now I'm a sales manager in Dallas. And that's what I do right now. I got back into journalism with the XFL board back in 2019.
Great place.
I was kind of, I owe everything to Mark Nelson for giving me my first opportunity into sports journalism. This was back in August 2019. Wanted to get back into broadcasting. I was out of it for a year. Just got the itch to do it again. Went to go apply to be a reporter for Dallas Renegades. Did a sample article, and Mark Nelson messaged me the next day, like, "Hey, I'd like to bring you on. We're going to post your article." And that's kind of how my XFL writing career began. And the only reason why I really got into that was I was a big WWE fan when I was a kid. So I watched the original XFL at 9 years old. And, I thought it was a great thing, since sliced bread, all the, the ads about people the players killing each other and stuff like that. Like, I just thought it was so cool.
I was right there with you, brother.
Yeah. Now as an adult, when I watch those games, I'm like, oh man, the football was not great, but no. Still love watching it. I will still watch hours of highlights of 2001 XFL all day long. I have no problems doing
YouTube's
it.
where it's at for sure.
There's actually a lot of channels that do like the XFL archive games, and I'll just sit and watch 2-3 hours of it and just have a blast with it. So that's what really got me into getting my foot back in the door with it. And then also the Alliance of American Football, when that came out, like, I think that's where the itch really began. Like, because I wasn't in broadcasting, I was in sales, and I was like, man, I really want to get back into writing. So the AAF really got me starting to think about it. And then so I jumped in with the XFL. Again, huge credit goes to Mark Nelson for giving me my first shot at it. He was able to get me credentials for the season for the Dallas Renegades at the time. And it was an awesome experience. Got to meet some wonderful people within the XFL. Obviously, Jay Nooks, who works for the San Antonio Brahmas now for their social media. He was a writer with XFL board with me. We were both covering the Dallas Renegades, so we were going to games together.
I did not know that.
Yeah, he used to travel up from, I think at the time he lived in Austin, and he used to travel up for the Dallas Renegades games, and we would sit by each other and we would cover the team together.
Wow. So yeah, I didn't know that. I did not know that, man.
Yeah, I think that probably helped him get his foot in the door with actually working with the XFL. So, we covered them together. I think we had 3 home games. There it is. That was the first home game when they played the St. Louis Battlehawks. We lost 15-9. That was a very ugly game, but that was a ton of fun, absolute ton of fun to cover that season. Obviously, the end of the 2020 season was devastating itself. So agreed. After that, I started getting to other writing. So just doing small stuff with NFL and other sports and stuff like that. So yeah, that's kind of how my, I guess, sports journalism, I would say more of like sports freelance career started.
Understood. I mean, so you basically already answered this. I mean, what attracted you to the alternative sports? I mean, from what you said, it was your love of the XFL from a youth. It just kind of spanned on.
Yeah, so I mean, I've always been. I feel like I'm old. It's so nice to be in a community now that shares the love of alternative football. Because when I was a kid, could not share with anybody. It was
Mm-hmm.
something I pretty much did in secret, where I was watching NFL Europe all the time. I was watching the UFL from 2009 2012. I was watching the Fall Experimental League. I was watching, the Alliance of American Football. I was, watch the XFL in 20. Like I, I don't know what it is about these leagues that really fascinated me, but it was there's something different about it. It's almost like, it maybe it's the college football is a little bit different in, I guess, now compared to what it used to be, but it just feels like it's like these guys are playing for passion. Like they
Yep.
play for the love of football. And sometimes I mean, as much as I'm a diehard fellow Eagles fan, sometimes when you watch NFL, it feels like it's just, it's all about making, a lot of money, and that's all that really matters. These guys are playing because they want to keep their careers going. Like they love football. They don't want to give it up. Greg McElroy back in 2020, the first broadcast of the XFL game between the Seattle Dragons and the DC Defenders, he made the comment that, leagues like the XFL are really important to the ecosystem of football, and I absolutely agree with that. I think these leagues are really important for not only for players to get opportunities to keep playing and get their foot in the door in the National Football League, but I mean, I think these leagues also create jobs. I mean, it keeps them in these leagues, and I mean, they don't get, crazy money for it, but they get enough that, they play football for, I don't know, 4 or 5 months out of the year. They make a pretty decent paycheck. They're able to support their families, and if they need to go off and do another job, they can do another job during the off season. Like I think these leagues are really important for these players to not give up on their dream. And the XFL always pushed us with a league of opportunity, and I think that's, I guess that's the romantic in me looking at it and how important these leagues are. But yeah, I really don't know what got me into it, but I love football, so I will just watch football 365 days a year.
Understood. I mean, you're right about the opportunity, man. I mean, just like you getting started again, that's the same way with me. I didn't ever plan on doing any of this from the jump, and then somehow it just came. It just popped up and started working. So I feel you.
Well, I mean, it gave us an opportunity too. I mean,
Yep.
sometimes people forget, the players and the coaches, they're getting opportunity. What about for us? I mean,
Yep.
as a full-time sales manager, there's no way I'm going to be able to cover NFL games without having something like the XFL. Same with you. I mean, look what it's done for you. Now you got credentialed into the New Orleans Saints, and you actually got to cover the Saints. Like that's absolutely massive
Dreams.
for us. And yeah, this is where it all starts. I mean, Jay Nooks, he was just a reporter for XFL board 3-4 years ago. Now he works for the XFL himself. So these leagues are really important, not only for players and coaches, but for us writers as well, that we can, get our foot in the door, get an opportunity to cover professional athletes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I will say, speaking of you, seeing you be able to jump from sport to sport, I've got a lot of respect for you because I know. I mean, I don't know if I could do it, but I see you do it, and you do it so effortlessly, and you do it, and you're dedicated, you're accurate, you're loving what you do. And I've seen your live reports that you've been doing recently, and I mean that your work speaks for your passion. So just wanted to say that, man.
I appreciate it. I really do. Thank you. I love all sports. Obviously football will always be my first love. To the day I die, it will always be number one. But I've really enjoyed working with FC Dallas on their games, and covering Dallas Wings here in the Dallas area, and even like a couple weeks ago, the Premier Lacrosse League, that they're not even based in Dallas, but this is their second year of coming to Dallas for a weekend, and it was one of the best experiences I've had with a league, with them welcoming me the way they did and letting me be a part of it for that weekend. I mean, that's what makes these leagues so awesome to work with. So and it all started with the XFL, thanks to the work that Mark Nelson and with the XFL board and Mark Perry with XFL News Hub have been able to give me. Now I'm able to get my foot in the door with these other leagues because I know that that I'm going to provide the best work possible and cover them the best way I can. So the XFL has done so much more for me than I could have imagined. So big kudos to the league for giving me my chance.
Yes, sir. Agreed. 100%. I mean, you kind of got into it a little bit already, but what's your favorite part of your job? Like what, in terms of your writing, reporting job?
I just love being able to meet people within the league, get to know them, get to know their story, how they got involved. Just meeting coaches, meeting the players, guys that, I would have never dreamed in a million years I would cover Bob Stoops for 2 years with, the Renegades. Like that just seems crazy to me that I can sit and ask him questions during a news conference. And, I think the really cool part is that, by the end of the season, like I could tell that Coach Stoops like kind of knew who I was. He started becoming familiar with me on, where he kind of knew who I was because he seen my face a lot. Like those type of things are like, I don't know, that just, even if he doesn't say like, oh, great job, Anthony, so just him just recognizing me for the coverage I've done all year. I think that's something that means a lot to me. And even just people like, within the XFL front office and within their media teams and stuff like that, really appreciating the work I do and asking me to come out to all these XFL events and stuff like that. It means a lot to me too, to be able to build those relationships with them. So it's really just the relationship building in general that I've enjoyed the most about, being a journalist and being a reporter.
Yes, sir. I'll say that. Do you feel like, I mean, socially online, there's only a certain amount of reach you can attain. But when you actually start going to these events, these games, and covering and meeting the athletes and players, there's a whole different facade of this that I didn't even know existed until I started doing this. I mean, do you feel like that's, to me, that's number one? So the networking, the meeting with players, the attending events, the getting rained on. I mean, all that stuff, it's part of the fun. Do you feel like that's something that you enjoy?
Yeah, like, and that's another thing too, is not only meeting the players like on social media, but like meeting you, Matt, like being able to meet you and meeting like Reed Johnson, Andrew Murray,
Agreed.
Evan Wilsmore. Like I've met some great guys along the
Yep.
way. Mike Mitchell, he welcomed me when I went to XFL board, and I consider him a mentor of mine and helping me get to where I am. Like there's so many great people within this community, and like there's other people like James Larson with
Yep.
USFL, an XFL newsroom. Like, and I don't want it to just be like it's just XFL News Hub, but like even other outlets as well. I've been able to meet some wonderful people that I've been able to network with and really just be able to talk alternative football. Like this is something that I don't get, I don't really care about what number of followers I have and stuff like that, but just being able to connect and be like, hey, let's just talk football. Let's just talk XFL. Let's talk USFL. Let's talk about, European Football League. Like, I geek out when it comes down to stuff like that because I don't get to talk about that with most people. So I think just meeting other content creators, other reporters, other writers, like that's also the coolest part as well, is being able to connect with them.
Agreed. Everybody has their own little piece of the pie. Everybody has a different offering, and it's super neat once you find your place and can run amongst the crowd and just talk. So I feel that and agree 100%. Like sitting up with you during the championship game in San Antonio, that was awesome, dude. That was like a dream come true. Never in my life. And the funny thing was it Christian Palantonio was supposed to sit in between us, if I remember correct. He was out
Yeah,
sick.
and he got, I think he posted he had COVID like the day before, so he couldn't travel.
Yep.
So,
So I mean, we'd had more to the party there, is what I'm trying to say, if that would have happened. So, but regardless, it's a privilege meeting you, man, and hanging out and hearing you the whole game. Good times.
Yeah, I mean that just meeting you, and that was the first time I met Dirty. It was the first time I met Reed Johnson, Andrew Murray. Like there were so many content creators that I've seen like on social media that I finally got to meet for the first time in person. It was just so cool meeting everybody. Like it, and I will say like, okay, I know you had a question about like my best sports experience. I maybe jumping the gun a little bit here,
Go
but
ahead. Best place
but
you've visited is what is the question, but we'll go ahead and roll into it. Go ahead.
yeah, but I would just say like that championship game because it was a different feel where it didn't feel like it was a football game. It just felt like a celebration. I think
Agreed.
everyone was just happy and relieved that we got through a whole season. We're finally here. The cool part was I saw so many DC Defender fans. Seeing those Battlehawk fans. Like it was just XFL fans. It was just football fans
The whole
coming to
city.
one place. Yes, like going through the Riverwalk and being able to see all kinds of different jerseys, all kinds of different like it was such a fun weekend and honestly just sitting up there in the Alamo Dome was obviously the Alamo Dome is a historic building for football, so it was just cool to be in there first of all, but to be in the press box and the way that it's set up, like it's usually with most press boxes you're like kind of closed off. So you can't, it kind of blocks off the fan sound and stuff like that. Not at the Alamo Dome. Like you can hear, you're
in it.
Yeah, like you're in it with the fans. You can hear them yell. So when they're screaming, like you can hear within the press box, which was, I think, the best part about it. Where sometimes I felt like I was screaming myself too, like, oh my god, and I was like, oh wait, I'm not a fan. I am with the press. I need to be a little more professional. But I couldn't help it because it felt like I was with the crowd and I was
Agreed.
cheering with them and stuff like that. So that to me, that experience was honestly the best experience. And I've never covered a championship game before, so that was the best experience I've ever had when it came down to covering a sporting event, and especially like come down the field after the game, like when the graffiti being popped off and the celebration of the trophy, like that was just awesome in itself too.
Oh, great experience. I know me and you, I mean, we kept running into each other and just trading comments basically. But yeah, hold on. I'm going to pull up this Twitter. Maybe people didn't see it already. I posted from where you posted your picture, but you can continue talking. I'm sorry. I just didn't want you to move on yet.
Oh, are you going to show the photo of us taking the picture together in the press box?
Well, first I'm just going to show you when you were out on the field with the confetti behind you.
Oh, yeah. I picked up a bunch of that stuff. It's still in my Renegades backpack. I kept all that stuff. Yeah, there's the scoreboard.
So I have a very similar picture.
There you go. And I probably have all that stuff in my hair still and stuff like that.
Oh, it looks, yeah, you got a little bit there. Nothing bad though. You can't.
Yeah, I was able to steal some of it and steal some of it from the ground and put it in my backpack.
Yeah, I got some in my camera bag that I left.
Yeah, and there's Coach Stoops and the team with the trophy, and then there's the view we have. Let's see, it's open, like it's not blocked off like you would, like it's not like a huge glass window like you would with most press boxes. It's actually like you're out in the crowd with the fans. So I just love that experience. It was just so different from what I've had at any sporting event. So I just love that experience. That was just so much fun.
Yeah, I agree with you. That was something like I've never seen before. I've done a lot of sports, not as media, but just in general, coaching, administrate, all the way around. But this event here was special, and it felt special. I always compare it. I said it was a Super Bowl of the XFL because it very much felt so, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely plan on going. If I can get back to another XFL championship game, I absolutely will. And nudge, nudge, hint, hint. I would love for that to be in St. Louis XFL. So, let's try to push for that if we can. But there we are.
Yeah, that was what, third, fourth quarter. I think y'all had already pulled the game off by this picture because you were pretty into it until that point.
Yeah, I think my voice was pretty much dying out at that point because I just found myself screaming throughout the game. I'm like, wait, I'm not a fan. I'm in the press, but everyone was reacting too. That was the cool part. Like I wasn't just the only one. It felt like other people were like reacting too.
They definitely were. So. I mean, we were having discussions up there. We were talking about everything from the coordination to players to the taste of the food. So, I mean, it was a great time. I agree.
And then I was talking to Reed Johnson. He was watching the Seattle Kraken Dallas Stars playoff game during that time too. So.
Yep. Yeah. We all met up with Reed the day prior, right? Or was the day of? Maybe the day of. And did that little interview with his live stream.
Oh, that was the day of. Yeah, that was the day of. We did the 3-hour show for the Markcast. That was a good time too. That was really cool.
That was my first time really meeting a lot of the personalities. I've met people along the way, you, Matty Fresh, Arlington Lane. I mean, I've met all those, but that many creators in one spot, that was the first time I've ever actually been able to just talk and network and do our thing.
Yeah, the playoff game was for the Houston Roughnecks and Arlington Renegades. That was really the first time I got to meet a lot of you guys too, because that was the first time I met. I think you, I met Evan, I think Arlington was there too.
Yep.
Like there was quite a few of us that were at that game as well.
Yeah, and there was a lot of people, unless you really talked to them, you didn't know who they were because they were Twitter personalities or Instagram personalities. So, I mean, there was others that I didn't get to talk to just because I didn't have the chance. But there was a lot of folks at these games, no doubt. But yeah, man, I appreciate that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, like, I feel like I knew you for a while, but then but I didn't know your name was Matt until the first round playoff game with Houston and Arlington. I was like, oh, his name is Matt. Like, obviously, I feel like I just know people by their Twitter handle. So it's really good to put like a face to the name.
Agreed. And that's another thing. When I first started this, I didn't want to make it about me. I wanted to make it about the XFL. So I did not show my face until late April, May. You really didn't know who I was. But then once you did, I mean, it is what it is.
They know you now. So.
Yep. And then if I throw a hat on in my normal clothes, it's like another person almost. But yeah, man, like I said, I appreciate that take. I'm in agreement 100% with everything you just said. That's been the biggest and the best part of it was attending all the games. Everyone was a different experience. My goal next year is to visit every stadium. I don't know how that's going to work out. I don't know how I'm going to get it done, but I'd like to do a tour and go to every stadium and experience them all and see exactly what each holds special.
You going to do the Tom Grassi? Go visit 30 stadiums, 30 days, just instead of XFL style, just 8 stadiums. And
hey, if the sponsor's there, let's do it. Hop on a plane. I'm down.
All right, Danny Garcia, Dwayne Johnson, we need your help. Come on.
It is what it is. But anywho, let's roll on. I got a few more questions for you, man. It's been great conversation so far. I like how relaxed it is. We're just discussing things. It's nice.
Yeah, hopefully the viewers like this. I don't know if they're enjoying it as much as we are, but
it's been a quite different mix. I've hit so many different people, personalities, players that I'm trying to give people different things along the way. But regardless, there's a good base there that values the work and that values the information, and that's what I'm about. As long as I can provide that for everyone, that's really what I'm trying to connect my few people that may not know about you or what you have to offer, so that they can pursue you and see the great things you're doing.
Yeah, I love it, man. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you. So let's just get into more reporting questions, and then I got some more XFL stuff for you. What's your biggest goals when covering or reporting content? It necessarily doesn't have to be XFL, just in general. I mean, what do you like to put forth as your quality work? I mean, communication. What makes your content go?
I mean, my biggest goal when I make content is I want to be accurate. I don't have I must be first mentality. If I'm being honest, I don't give a crap about that. I don't really care about being the first one to report on something. I would rather, maybe I'd be different if this was like a full-time job, but just for me personally, I'd rather get it right. Last thing I want to do is report on something wrong and then, burn bridges or, give wrong information that could affect, somebody's, jobhood or, livelihood. So that's the last thing I want to do is try to affect someone's life in a negative way. So I would rather just report the correct information and then put it out there. Obviously I try to cover as much positivity as possible as well. I try not to cover the negative stuff. That's just not for me. If people want to cover it, that's their thing. That's just not me. I would rather just focus on, the positive stuff. I know, like, a lot of people can talk about, the XFL ratings and, how they just weren't, strong at times. And it's just like, I don't really care about stuff like that. That's to me, that's not important. If other people want to report it, great. But I mean, we've seen too much on Twitter where we've seen somebody talk about ratings and all of a sudden is, oh, this league, sucks and, the XFL needs to go. And then people start fighting over, what's better, the USFL, the USL versus XFL stuff. It absolutely irks me more than anything in the world.
It's ignorant in itself. I agree.
Yeah, and I understand like you want to have friendly rivalries and stuff like that. I don't have a problem with that. I think the problem is people take it too personally, where they're like, "Oh, I'll die, for the XFL, or I'll die for the USFL." It's just like that's just stupid. Like this is it's football.
Do you own it?
Yeah, like I'm gonna watch football regardless. So I stay away from that kind of stuff. Whenever I see it, I'm like, nope, I don't want to be a part of it. So I try not to be a part of it. I know people want to talk about like, bias stuff, and maybe I'm biased towards the XFL. I don't really care. I cover football regardless of it, even if I maybe like one league more than the other. So I try to stay away from that negative stuff. So yeah, just being accurate with my stuff, making sure I'm staying away from the negative stuff. And then as well, make sure I put my own analysis on it. I like to give my opinion on stuff just based on what I've seen. I try to back it up with, some kind of statistics, some kind of facts to, give a reason why I feel something about it. Like anytime I do an article on a move that's been made, I want to talk about the impact it's going to have on the team, what the impact will have on the player. Because I think that's stuff that, you can read about player movement all the time, but you got to add a little more to the content. And I like to give my personal opinion and give my, my peace of mind on an article. So I try to add that. But if I'm going to do it, I want to make sure I back it up with facts and stuff that I know that, I know about and that other football fans know about too. So, or any kind of sport in general. So that's how I attack my content anytime I'm writing something.
Understood. Yeah, I mean, fair and objective reporting is a rare occurrence these days in most things. So it's definitely needed in all aspects of American, U.S., foreign, anything. We definitely need more reporters who work as you do. So appreciate you, man. That's a great take.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm not going to be the Adam Schefter types that are going to, be the insider breaking news stuff. That's just not for me. I'm going to leave that to Mike Mitchell. He's the best insider in the game. So
I agree.
Like him and James Larson, they do great stuff on the insider stuff. So I'll leave that to them. I don't have the time to do that. I'm just going to focus more on the analysis part.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, everybody's got a piece to the puzzle, and both of those guys are big names amongst our groups of folks. If you don't know who they are, I don't know how well you're keeping up with the leagues, but both are significant and impactful in what they put on social media or say and do. So agreed.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. That's one reason I value your content. Like I said, though, is I can bet that I can look at it and you have the reasoning of what we're talking about and you explain the facts before you tell me why you think it will impact whatever subject we're speaking of or whatnot. So that's one of the reasons I value your work, honestly.
I appreciate it. And I mean, the only thing I ask is, if I do something wrong, obviously call me out on it. Let me know like, hey, I feel differently about this or something like that. I'd love to interact that way. I just don't want it to be like
argument.
People, like an argument or people just dumping on my work and stuff like that. I prefer not to go down that route, but I love getting into, a conversation or debate about it as long as it's, professional and friendly. More than happy to have those conversations all day long.
I've found that I wasn't very big on the Facebook game. I mean, the Twitter game coming in. I was big on the Facebook game. And now I've kind of leaned much, much, much more towards the Twitter game because the interactions, the information, the comments, everything seems to be about discussions and talking about a subject. I know on Facebook, I have gotten some straight nonsense posted on things numerous times. I know it happens in Twitter also, but so far, from my opinion, alt sports Twitter is a very valuable community to be engaged with for the most part. Of course, you got your bad apples, and I don't even have to say them on air. I'm sure I could say a couple names and you're going to shake your head, but for the most part, it's been a pleasant experience on Twitter. Facebook, it was a little different.
Be careful with Reddit. That would be my advice.
I haven't even broke into that mold yet.
Yeah, Reddit can be dangerous compared to Twitter and Facebook, so I'll just stick with Facebook and Twitter for now.
Understood. Yeah, I seen that there was some big XFL stuff going on Reddit, but I don't know. I got enough going. If I want to get on discussion boards, I'll hop on the XFL board and I'll talk on there, and where I know people are going to engage accurately and give some feedback that makes sense, in my opinion.
Yeah, you won't catch me on any of them, so I'll just stick to Twitter and Facebook.
I feel that. Well, let's go on to another question, man. This one's more of XFL based or just sports in general. How do you feel is the best way to engage with fans? How do you think? So just you can use the XFL, for example. How do you feel like they could engage better or how they should engage with their fans in order to be successful?
I think best way to do it is make sure you're out in the local communities. That's something I think the XFL did a little bit better of as the season went on, but I feel like it needs to be a year-round thing where for the Sea Dragons, they should be doing stuff in Seattle all the time. They should be doing, charity work. They should be going out to schools. Like they should be out in the community so that people can see what they're doing. I think it goes for all the XFL cities, and I think that's what's helped. The Dallas Cowboys, they're all over the place all the time in Dallas Fort Worth area. They're doing stuff all the time in the communities, and especially for these smaller, a league like the XFL, who's trying to build up their name, build up their reputation. People may not know who they are, so they need to go out in the communities, do good things with the community, and make sure they're, spreading information about their league and the stuff that the XFL is doing. But obviously social media has become such a powerful tool as well. I think the work that they've done, the XFL, with posting the top highlights and stuff like that, I think are cool stuff, but they need to make sure they have consistent year-round content. I feel like right now, big thing is announcing player signings. Those are always great. Maybe showing some highlights of what they did during their XFL time. That's great as well. But I feel like that's kind of players are not going to sign all the time. And I feel like they're kind of missing they're a little inconsistent when it comes down to staying engaged on social media. I mean, it's kind of funny when the admin go at each other sometimes, like the Vipers. I know their admin is very heavy on talking trash and stuff like that. That stuff is kind of funny, but I think you want to make sure that you're having content when it comes down to, like I said earlier, just interviewing coaches, interviewing players, doing profiles, talking about what to be excited for the upcoming season. Just make sure you have that continuous. And I think those teams could really benefit from having a podcast themselves, or having some kind of video content where
an official show.
Yeah, exactly. I think that would be, because I know that was something the XFL in 2020 had, where they had an official XFL show where this is the XFL, where originally they were just their own podcast, and the league kind of brought them in as a kind of their go-to podcast. So I think the league could benefit from that as well.
Agreed. Now we got a lot of fan groups and fan podcasts that have come up, but in terms of official stuff, I think if I remember correctly, there was only one official XFL podcast, and it was with Josh. I forgot his name.
Oh, Josh Lewin.
Yep, that's it. Yep. And it was good. I listened to it, and we were doing our own shows back then, so I listened to it objectively.
Yeah. Problem is he only did it during the season.
Exactly.
That's the only problem with him.
Yep. And it was real short and sweet. There wasn't much personality. I didn't feel like they gave me a reason to want to listen. All the information he discussed was stuff that you could see amongst ESPN or anywhere yourself and reading for 5 minutes. So I do feel like that's a big thing, and agreed. And as well as the community engagement, that's something we saw in XFL 2.0. The community engagement was off the chain. They were on events throughout the cities. They were doing things, getting a lot of players to come and do autographs. There was a lot of stuff going on amongst each city back in those days. So let's look forward to that. I agree as well.
Yeah, and I'm sure a lot of that has to do with the budget. I know that's something we talked about. Their marketing budget was, at least for this year, was really small. So Hopefully, I know they kind of revamped their marketing team, so I'm sure there's going to be more work that's going to be done with that in, I guess, season 2 of XFL 3.0. So that
Yes, sir.
should, I think that should help.
And Josh Sella, I think he'll make a difference in terms of getting more digital forms of communication going for the league. I've seen him interacting with many of us on Twitter, just doing his research, I feel like. So
Yeah,
I look forward
agreed.
to seeing what kind of stuff he does this coming next few months, hearing what we get.
Agreed.
So I'm going to,
yeah.
I'm looking through questions. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Mm-hmm. Mike, I'll ask that question at the end if that's cool. I got a couple questions I'll ask you, but I'll wait till we get done with the interview, man. Nothing major. It's just opinions on stuff that you may feel. All right. I got one more XFL question for you from my end. How do you see the XFL evolving in 2 years? So not the next regular season, but our 2 years away regular season 2025.
I think fans are about to find this answer very boring. I think it's going to be pretty much the same. I know everyone loves the topic of, expansion. Maybe we'll expand to 10. Maybe we'll expand to 12. I'm telling you, any league that does expansion does not work out. It is what killed the USFL back in the 1980s. They expanded way too quickly. They did it before the Dixon plan was supposed to be, and they ended up folding within 3 to 4 years. So as much as I would love for the league to expand, it is not smart business to do it. So I think if you talk about any changes that could come within the next 2 years, only thing I can think of is the Vegas Vipers not being in Vegas anymore. That would be the only change I could possibly think of. I think everything else is going to stay the same. The way that I want the league to evolve is in terms of how the media coverage is, what they're doing on social media, being able to grow their marketing. That's where I kind of want to see the league grow. I think, hopefully like ticket sales and stuff like that, hopefully they start releasing ticket sales sooner so we can start seeing the progress there. But they need to evolve on a media storytelling platform. They had the Player 54 documentary, which was great stuff. That is the type of content you want, especially when you're trying to focus on doing like specific players and telling their stories. That's what the XFL needs to be about. And I know there's something Danny and Dwayne The Rock Johnson, that was something they built on the XFL to be storytellers. They just want to tell the stories of these players and coaches, where they came from, how did they get to this point, where they're going in their future. Like that's the type of stuff the XFL needs to do, is to find creative ways of telling these players stories, telling these coaches stories, so that fans can get, gripped into, man, I love the story. Like the AJ McCarron story, like the XFL sold the hell out of it. And you know what? It was fantastic stuff. I mean, just hearing the story about, hey, he wants to play in front of his kid. He wants his kids to watch him play. That's why he came to the XFL. TJ Barnes, defensive lineman for the Renegades. He lost 72 pounds after the draft so that he can be in shape and play the whole season. And he ended up being one of their most important players on that team. Like, those are the stories that really get fans to be like, oh, I love this league. Ja'Cour Pearson came from the YouTuber Destroyin', coming from his camps. And he got his shot and he became one of the best receivers in the XFL. Like, those are the stories that the XFL needs to build off of. So I would say, how do I see it evolve in 2 years? I think it's going to be the same in terms of number of teams. I'm sure we'll see most of the coaches be the same, but I want to see how they evolve in terms of how they're, portraying themselves in social media, in the media, TV deal with ESPN and ABC and Disney in general. Like, I want to see that evolve. And if they can get to the point where almost every game is being broadcast on ABC or ESPN, I think those are massive wins for the XFL in 2 years. So if they can get to that point, I think the league will be in good shape.
Yes, sir. Nice take. I appreciate that and agree. The expansion idea sounds nice, but from just like I do, like the past leagues that have occurred, when we go and we do things without money, it equals shutdown.
Yep.
So we have to have the money there before we can expand, grow, start a football league such as the AAF. The money has to be there. You can't chase it mid-season and hope. I mean, you got one shot, and then I guarantee you that any budget is most likely going to go over for a football league from my research.
Patience, I've learned when it comes down to alternative football, patience is virtue. You have to be patient. You have to let these leagues grow in their own way. Eventually, within the next 5 years, they're still around. Yeah, go ahead and expand to 10, maybe expand to 12. But this is a slow burn. We have to make sure the XFL needs to make sure they're profitable first before they bring in more markets.
Yes, sir. Agreed. Now, this was my take on that was much of the fandom that we saw this year was past fandom. It wasn't new fandom. We need new fans. We need new people to engage. The people that are here, we're probably going to be here either way, and then unless they just screw up royally. So we've really got to figure out, like you said, how to get people to care. And you do that by linking them to these people's stories, these players' fights and journeys, getting to where they are. Because I guarantee you, there's half of a team can tell you stories about what they've come through or what they're working through right now that can be related to things that are in anyone's life. So I agree with you. I think we really got to get on the ground running. A lot of the personal content is necessary as to get the buy-in from fans. We have to have a personal connection to the league other than just them playing football.
Could not agree more. More with you.
Yes, sir. So, I mean, that about wraps up the big questions I got for you, Anthony. So you can relax. Nothing else crazy.
We're an hour and 22 minutes into this thing.
Yeah, I did not expect us to sit on this long, honestly, but it just flows. It's relaxed. We're talking. I enjoy it when it's not.
These are the best interviews where you can just sit back, relax, just shoot the stuff, and just realize, oh man, we've been talking for an hour and a half to 2 hours. Those are usually the best.
Yes, sir. In terms of you, are there any future sports or projects in the works? Is there anything that the people should be watching for from you personally, or even me watching for personally at this point?
I mean, right now I'm just focused on trying to build up NCZ Network and our platform here in Dallas, and just trying to get our names in front of people. So, hopefully when, Dallas Stars, Dallas Mavericks season, Dallas Cowboys season starts, you'll start seeing more content around that. So,
awesome.
That's really where I'm going to be focused on, is kind of building that up. I think eventually, I'll get to the point where I'll suck it up and do a podcast or something like that for Dallas sports. So I think that will eventually come. I know there could be a potential, next year that we'll start doing a lot of, Texas high school football stuff here for NCZ Network. So that's what I'm kind of focused on, as well as, just trying to prep for the XFL season. Obviously, I'm going to continue just covering everything that's Arlington Renegades, and, that's just getting ready for that as well. And then I just joined College Football Network, so I'm just building up the stuff for college football. So when college football season rolls around, I will have a lot of college football content as well. So basically every day you're going to see probably 1 to 3 articles from me. So I'm going to be busy to the bone with it, but I'm excited for it. This is always the fun time of the year.
That's awesome, man. I look forward to your work. Like I said, especially you start covering some Dallas Cowboys and stuff along those lines. That's stuff I really want to read and see. So I look forward to it, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I'm excited for it. Hopefully I get to see more New Orleans Saints stuff from you. That'd be cool.
Hey, I think I'm going to dabble into writing. I'm going to pick it back up. I've done it in the past in terms of like in education and getting my degrees and stuff. But man, like I've told people, I just burnt myself out on writing papers. You write 20 or 30 research papers through a couple year span and you're done writing. I mean, so that I'm hoping I can pick it back up. Regardless, I'm going to be spreading out some content and updates for sure on the Saints and these 3 players. I'm supposed to be getting updates regarding these players if anything happens. So definitely check that for me going forward. And I'll be there, that something good happens. So I'll be at the preseason game. Hopefully we'll see Kirkland get on the field and get some plays. And then afterwards, maybe talk to him. If not, I'll talk to the media guys and they'll fill me in on what's going on. And so I look forward to it, man. And Same with you. I'm glad that your career is growing and you're getting right where you want to be, even if it's not your main gig.
Yeah, we'll have to ask ourselves the questions how we're going to evolve in 2 years. I'm sure it's going to be a lot different from where we are now.
No doubt, no doubt. And I feel like me and you both, as well as any of the other guys here, we're all here for it. And as the XFL grows and the alternative sport world grows,
I mean,
we're
like
here.
yeah, I mean, I have to give a shout out to Evan Wilsmore, who just got
Yep.
a job with the Vegas Nighthawks and working with that team now for helping them with finding players and stuff like that. Like that's such an incredible thing. And he's a college kid and going out there and working for an indoor football league, like just stuff like that. Like this, it's why I love being a part of this community and being able to see, young guys like him grow and, get jobs like this. So I love seeing it. And I hope I see more of it. I think there's a lot of great people out there that are doing awesome stuff.
Yeah, I agree. Shout out to Evan for his position. He's got a lot going, man. He's young, so I know in 5 or 10 years, there's no telling where he's going to be. Talked to him and met him very first Houston game I covered. And ever since then, we developed a relationship in terms of business acquaintances, and hopefully we'll get to know each other more down the line. But he is a good guy. He's great to talk to, great insight with football, and he really gets to know players that he's covering. He really gets to know them.
He is such he loves the players, and I think that's why players like working with him, because he really cared. Like he has developed so many relationships with the players and coaches with the Houston Roughnecks that it's really become like a family to him. So I know, like I don't know if media is going to be in his future, but the relationships he's developing with the players is going to help him when he gets into front offices of NFL, if he wants to get into recruiting or something like that. That's going to be huge for him.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I agree. But congrats to him. I'm glad you mentioned that. I was meaning to throw something in for him, and that works out great. So I'm glad that you mentioned that.
Yep, absolutely.
But anywho, Anthony, I think I have one question from Mike. Mike asks, does the XFL need an off season? What do you think it'll be like during the NFL season?
Does the XFL need an off season? So yeah, I think this goes back to what we talked about with, maybe they could have a little more content and stuff like that, because, we are in the XFL off season, but it's sometimes does feel like it's, like dead air, and we just don't have much to talk about outside of players getting signed to the NFL and stuff like that. I think during the NFL season, I think the big things are going to be wait until October, November, when we start hearing about, drafts coming up and, combines and stuff like that. That's really where the XFL offseason focus is trying to have as many combines as possible. So the XFL can get as many, players in their pool, so that when they have these drafts, when they're looking at signing players, they can go on, the list that they've seen with all the players that have worked out in front of them and be able to pick those players from there. I think, and also a lot of it is the XFL. There's a waiting game, because you want to see what happens during the NFL season, who gets cut, who gets injured, who's getting signed during this time. So sometimes it's kind of that weird balance of, all right, let's get some young players that are not on NFL teams, get them signed, but also let's see which NFL vets are going to get cut and which ones we can, convince, like, hey, you need the XFL to get back into the NFL, come sign with us. So it's kind of I feel like this is what the XFL offseason is going to kind of be like. It just may evolve into small little things throughout the years, but it's mostly just going to be combines and workouts and trying to get as many players interested in joining the league as possible.
Yes, sir. Great answer. Great answer. Let me see if I had any more questions before we hop off air. I think that's it. Yeah, that's all I got for the most part. Yeah, man. Like I said, I appreciate you coming on greatly. It's been a good conversation. The whole thing. Every guest I get on, I mean, we have a different conversation, and it's all legitimate. It's just like me and you would talk in person, and that's what I love about it the most. So appreciate you for coming on. Much respect for what you do for the XFL, as well as all the other sports you cover. You give a voice to sports that don't have a voice. So much respect, and I'm sure the people that value those sports respect that as well, man.
No, thank you. I appreciate it. And I was telling you before the broadcast, I love the team that you're kind of building over there, behind the scenes with with XFL Insider Podcast. So I love seeing that. So,
Appreciate that.
we need more content creators like you that are out there, pushing this content through. So I really appreciate the time. I loved interacting with you at in the playoff games, and I'm grateful that I was able to get on your show for the first time. And man, it's been an hour and a half, and what a blast.
I agree. Episode 13, man. I appreciate you being here for it greatly.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. In terms of the team, I found that doing this by myself is hard. Even if it's just, I do the production, I do the hosting, I do the guest setup, all that. But having content and ideas for content is hard to do alone because you only see one side of things typically. So, I've got different people in place now, contributors and such that, they push my opinions in terms of like, why am I saying this? Or they tell me things from their aspects that I find very insightful for a normal fan. And that's really what I'm trying to do right now is just put out content that's accurate that people want to hear.
Yeah. And you're putting great content out there. So keep up with what you're doing. Your team's doing a really great job of it. So you guys just keep up the good work.
I appreciate you, Anthony. And same your way, man. I look forward to your future work and getting you back on. Before we hop off the air, if you'll send me all your socials, I'll put them in the notes where they're easily clickable and you can find them easily. But anything, this is an audio show also. So anything or any place you want people to follow you, please, you're welcome to say. I know you said you didn't care about likes and follows, but I always give people the opportunity because I've had a few salty ones along the way.
Got it. Okay. Well, you can follow me on most of my work's on Twitter, so you can follow me at by Anthony Miller, which is BY Anthony Miller. I mean, mostly you don't have to follow me, but I love having conversations with people. So feel free to hopefully shoot me a DM or just comment on my posts as long as it doesn't involve Cowboys or XFL versus USFL stuff. Otherwise, I'm fine with it. Again, Cowboy stuff I guess is fine since I'm covering them, but no trash talking on the Eagles. So
that's the line. The line is the Eagles.
Yep.
That's hilarious. Well, I appreciate you, brother, and I look forward to more of your work in the future. Thank you again for coming on, and anytime you want to come on, if you have something, just let me know. You're more than welcome.
I absolutely will. I appreciate you, Matt.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Anthony.
Yes, sir.
All right, guys. That was a good interview. Appreciate Anthony for coming on tonight. I think I've had this scheduled for 5 weeks, so it was a good one. I enjoyed it. A great guy, and like I said, we and him got to know each other a little bit there at the championship and got some insights on his opinions and such. So that's how I knew he's legitimate as it comes in terms of reporting and journalism. So next week, like I said, I'm going to move Sunday to Saturday. Same time, I'll be at the Saints preseason games against Kansas City. So look forward to that. That'll be my first media appearance with the Saints. Going from little tiny scale with the XFL to big scale with the NFL, but it's a great experience. Learning a lot, meeting people, seeing things, just things I never thought I'd see and do. Being a Saints fan, it's quite different as well, but greatly enjoyable, and appreciate the NFL for giving me that inside view. And I hope I can bring the guys at home some good content, guys and girls at home, some good content regarding these athletes that are there. We got a guest list this month that's pretty good. I will have Evan on the show at the end of the month, hopefully if his schedule allows. He probably is a little busier now. But yeah, we got a good guest schedule. Check that out online. It's on the Facebook group or Twitter. If you are interested in being a guest or coming on and helping provide some content, please contact me. We've grown a little bit over the past month, and it's been a great thing. A lot of good opinions and a lot of different individuals to talk to and work with. So check for that as we go. I'm trying to give everybody their chance to shine, once or twice a month on some good pieces. So check for that. Sorry, coughing. I think that's all for me. Want to thank the XFL, of course. Appreciate you letting me cover. It's been a great experience, as I always say. It's for the love of football, and it'll continue to be that. Thank you, XFL board, for getting me my start in this. And as we go, as you hear, a lot of these personalities, they say the same thing. XFL board was a big proponent in their careers and just their start of journalism. So appreciate you, Mark, at XFL board. He's got a great team there also. We'll have Aiden on XFL Center the 20th. So that'll be good. He's actually with XFL board. So look forward to that. Anyway, I think that's all I got, guys. As I said, it's been a great pleasure. Appreciate you listening and coming back for more every week. If there's anybody you want to see specifically or talk to, let me know and we'll get it scheduled. Otherwise, I'm tired. I've been at training camp this week, and then I will go back Thursday, and then the game is Sunday in New Orleans. So a little bit of trips for me, but it's been a good adventure. But anywho, that's it for me. Have a good night. Enjoy your night. I'm going to enjoy mine. Until next time, guys. Oh, yeah. Check out the contest on social media also. Giving away 2 free t-shirts. Like and follow when you get an entry. It's pretty easy. Just check it out and let me know what you think. But yeah, that's it for me, guys. Peace out. Episode 13 is in the wraps. Appreciate you again for listening.